Boom, bam, bam. Welcome to the United Hour. I am President Chad. In the house today with me is the man Devin and the warrior princess herself, Dixie Ann. How are you all doing this evening?
Great. Fine, thanks.
Not bad,
Right.
thank you. Good
Good,
evening to
good, good.
everybody.
So, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about Harry Maguire and that ESPN article. Was Harry directly involved? Yes, no. Did he have a point? We're going to be discussing that. We're going to be talking a little bit about Ronaldo. Ronaldo again talking to ESPN said some very interesting things. So we're going to be discussing that. But we're going to start off talking about what is in the thumbnail, which is Manchester United summer signings. Which one has been Ten Hag's best signing? So before I throw that question to the guest and weigh in myself, yes, Devin, you gotta put on that hat, man, that lucky hat. I mean, you don't
Correct.
really need it. You don't need it this week, eh? You don't need
No,
it this
no.
week.
We,
You
we,
need
we
it
keep
more
we
next week
continue the luck,
before
keep going. We continue the luck. Everything stays the same as before.
before the derby. Um, Good afternoon, Martin Philip. Saying good afternoon to the guest. Um, so let's see who are the options. We have Malasia. He has come in, and in no time, I predicted that Malasia would take Shaw's spot closer to the middle of the season. He has already taken Shaw's spot. We have Martinez, who has gotten a number of man of the matches so far since his joining the club. I think he's also the player of the month for this month, yeah. Then we have Ericsson, who we got on a free, but has been a revelation in our midfield. And we also have Anthony, the last one to come in, but scoring on debut and has also had fairly good performances. So,
You forgot one,
who's that?
Casemiro.
Casimiro, correct, correct. Casimiro, who has had a tentative start so far to his time at Manchester United. So, ladies, first we're going to throw it to Dixie. Dixie, in your opinion, who would you say has been the best signing so far in the Ten Hag era?
I personally would go with Lisandro Martinez. He has been immense. His contribution has been immense. I mean, I think initially when I heard his name, first thing that came to mind was his physical size and if he would be physically suited to life at the EPL, especially at Manchester United. But I think he has come in, he has literally thrown his little frame around, and he has manhandled the opposition. I like how he has brought stability to the back. I like his link up play. I like the fact that he's not afraid to even get thrown under the bus because literally he has given his all. Honestly, that being said, Ericsson really has been a revelation for us. I think he has been what we have been lacking in that midfield. Um, Good things come to those who wait, I guess. But for me, it was a toss up between the both of them. But I am going with Martinez for this one.
Martinez. All right. Martin Phillip agrees with you. And who would you say, Devin?
So I have to pick Ericsson. I think that what Ericsson is doing so far is kind of going under the radar because of how stellar Martinez has been playing. Especially when you think like you have certain pundits, Graham Souness, immediately coming out criticizing Martinez, and sort of like all the spotlight is put on him instantly, and he's showing up and he's proving all of them wrong. So yes, he gets credit for that. But I feel that Ericsson has been absolute revelation in midfield. He is doing what we expected Paul Pogba to be doing for 6 years. So for me, it's he's flying under the radar. I think he's played like almost every single minute so far in the league. So and especially considering what he's been through, we're all worried about him coming in, and he has been an absolute revelation. He's been an unsung hero. He's been an absolute workhorse. And for that one, I have to give it to Ericsson for that reason.
All right, all right, all right. Good afternoon to the man Courtney Andrews. Um, I'll be honest with you. I between those two, it has been the battle going on in my mind because Ericsson has silenced all the Pogba devotees, right? All the people for 6 years of Pogba talking about, if he had Kante next to him, if he had better players around him, he would be more consistent. And it's not Pogba's fault. Is this one? Is that one? Is the other? Ericsson has come in practically the same team and has shown consistent performances and quality. And let's be real, Ericsson doesn't have all the physical attributes that Paul Pogba has. Paul Pogba is taller, he's stronger, he's faster over the ground. Yet Ericsson has produced the kind of consistent quality that we were hoping to get from Paul Pogba for 9 years, which we didn't get, right? We got glimpses of greatness, but nothing consistent. So obviously, Ericsson had to be up there in consideration. Excuse me. And then the other one is Martinez. He's the other real standout. And he has just been a monster. He has lived up to the what was it called? The
Alicia.
The hype.
No, not the hype, his nickname. He has
Ali
lived
Chat.
Oh, the butcher.
Yes, he has lived up to his nickname, the Butcher. And I personally am glad to have him here, knowing that the next opponent we're going to be facing is Man City and Haaland. I'm very happy to have Martinez. Hopefully he stays fit over the international duty. I see Argentina got one of their games postponed. So that's at the same time, Malacia has been a revelation on the left. We can't really say much about Casemiro because he hasn't really hit the ground running as yet. And again, same thing for Anthony. He had a very good start against Arsenal, but you could see that he's still phasing into the team. So for me, I would have to agree with Dixie and go with Martinez. Um, because the biggest change for me is the solidity in defense, which obviously is not Martinez for responsibility by himself. The entire back line is pretty different to what we were dealing with last week. But I think Martinez gives some solidness to that. So I think he's been the best signing so far. But the nice thing about it is that we could even have this debate that all of the signings have done well, except for the one that we probably would have taken for granted, which is Casemiro. I think all of us would have thought when we looked at the list of names before we saw them play in a United outfit, we would have thought, yeah, well, Casemiro would easily be a top performer. And the nice thing about that is we know he will be at some point, right? We know his quality, so we're not worried about him. So the fact that we could actually talk about everybody else, I think is a good thing. Let me just read this comment and then throw it back to you all. So Courtney is saying, I agree and disagree, Chad. The defense is a lot more stable in comparison to when Pogba was there. I am no Pogba fan, but let's be fair to the man. Tell me how I'm being unfair. Tell me how I'm being unfair. Anybody think I'm being unfair to Pogba?
No, I'd like to hear that justification in defense of Paul Pogba, actually.
I'm not saying Pogba was never good for Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just that he wasn't consistent.
He did not live up to the
consistently
hype
good.
and to the potential that we expected or that we know he could have displayed. Because if you compare a Paul Pogba, a consistent run with Manchester United, and you compare a consistent Paul Pogba run with France, it's different. Paul Pogba for France is solid. Paul Pogba for Manchester United on any given period. I'm not saying he was poor. I'm saying what you're saying. He did have his moments, but he didn't live up to the hype because those moments did not translate into a consecutive and consistent translation of over a few games.
And one other thing I want to say concerning Ericsson, and then I'll give you the last word on the topic, Devin, is that I have been surprised that Ericsson has played as much minutes as well, almost as much minutes as David De Gea. I couldn't believe, Ericsson has been running. He has not just played the minutes, but when you look at the distance covered, he has covered the distance. I was like, yeah, we get Ericsson, he would add to the team, but I was looking at Ericsson as a luxury player. He'll play 60 minutes, he'll come off, somebody else might start, Ericsson might come off the bench. That was what I was thinking. But Ericsson has come in and he has been ride or die, riding hard with everybody else, putting in the minutes, putting in the work. And if anybody else in this team doesn't step up, they really don't have any excuse when somebody that we know his medical issues could come into the team and perform like that. What's your excuse? You know what I mean? He set a bar without saying anything, just performing week in, week out. It's like, this is what you have to contend with. What's your excuse for not doing it? Who's of Devin?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing when it comes to, well, this one comment here right below. Well, yeah, these last two comments, that sums it up right there. He was good when he wanted to be. He had the talent. There was no denying that. I do think he was very wasteful with some of his passes. I also think that he held onto the ball a little bit too long, and at the same time, he was not willing to put in a shift. You need to be willing to put in that shift off the ball as well, with running, covering, looking for teammates, not just passing the ball, jogging around the pitch and just lose the ball. You're not tracking back. You're not helping. And I think that is something that sets Ericsson aside from Paul Pogba, and why Ericsson has slotted in so effectively into this side right now. Yes, obviously he had his off the field issues, which are coming out now and whatnot, but that's still no excuse for not running around. And I mean, you couldn't even do the basic of running around, of running to help the team even if you weren't having a good game on the ball. And that's something to me that is absolutely unforgivable, especially when you have all this hype around you and you have the second coming. You get Stormzy to come and do a video with you. You're one of the poster childs for the Adidas brand and everything too. And that's what we got. So let him rot over at Juventus now. So, and Ericsson, I am so glad that we got him, and for a free too. Let's not forget that. So I guess I'm the odd one out here that I'm still sticking with Ericsson as being the most influential signing to me.
Just for the sake of balance, let me read out Courtney's response. He said, if you're playing, no, this is the wrong one. Yes, this is the right message. If you're playing and consistently worried about what is happening behind you, it is going to affect you. That is a valid point.
That's still no excuse for not tracking back and not helping out the team that way.
No, it's not. But that is a valid point.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But then again, we could use that excuse for Fred and McTominay. And I really don't want to give those guys any excuse for when they were playing badly. Right? So, it's a good point, but, and then lastly he says, let's look at it critically. He flourished most when he had a stable defense and a free role in France. He doesn't have to work the same thing. Well, that is true. That is true. But my thing has always been great players are able to be great and consistent regardless.
And also make the players around them great as well too.
Correct. And Ericsson has shown us that. So let's jump on to the Harry Maguire topic. ESPN put out an article in which it was making, I believe, excuses for Harry Maguire's lack of a horrible season last season and this season, right? Talking about De Gea's distribution and, changes in the back line. And far as I'm concerned, it was a hit piece to try to make Harry's bad performance not look that bad, right? And Twitter and the whole internet blew up, and everybody was on Harry case. They were like, "Oh, Harry throwing his teammates under the bus. How Harry could say these things." Now the article never said Harry said it. The article said somebody close to Harry said it, but everybody was on Harry case. Like if it came out of his mouth. Devin, give us an update on that situation.
So, a couple hours ago, same person who put out this article. Should we even say his name on here?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so Mark Ogden, the one who put out this article, said sources close to Harry came out and said this. You know who that source close to Harry was? Mark Ogden himself. He even went on ESPN FC show and admitted that out loud. And of course, he said Harry called him and rightfully cussed him out. So it just seemed like everybody was so quick to jump on Harry for this when we don't know if it was actually true that he said this to Mark, or if somebody from his camp said it to Mark, or what, or if Mark was just speaking, just trying to get what we call the States, we call it clout, trying to get social media clout, make himself famous. But yeah, it's just there was a reason why he was banned when Furby had the reins. And to me, it sounds like if you're going to make up stories about players and cause unnecessary drama, it sounds like that ban needs to be reinstated tonight. So I have to, for now, in this case, I have to defend Maguire on this one because we don't know that it's actually true.
We don't know that is not true either.
Correct.
Mark may have said, "I am the person close to Harry," right? But if I print an article and then I turn around and say, "Well, Devin isn't the source. I am the source." Does that mean that what I put in the article is not something that we may have discussed one-on-one? You may not have told me write this article, but I could very well be putting out your opinion, but I don't want to say it was you. So we don't know that Harry may not have had this discussion. We don't know, right?
So,
but that's what I'm saying. We don't know.
If that is the case, and then if I were in Harry's shoes and that were the case, and there was just me speaking opinion, he put it out there. Guess what's gonna happen? You will never hear from me again. You need an interview, anything like that? Nothing. You betray that trust, and that's how it goes. You want to do this now? Fine.
In a live interview, Mark Ogden said that Harry Maguire contacted him and quote unquote cuss him out, right? Because of the article. And I think because of how negatively it was received. Dixie, I want to ask you a question. Does Harry have a point though? We may not appreciate the article, right? We may not appreciate the timing of it. I think it was just to try to make Harry look good. I don't know if Mark thought he was doing Harry a favor. I don't know. But before the internationals and stuff, people questioning whether he should be on the team. One of the former England managers actually coming out and saying Harry shouldn't be on the team. Harry and Luke Shaw shouldn't be on the English team because they're not playing. They're not regular starters for the club. So I don't know if it was an attempt to try to make Harry look good. But putting that aside, we know that David De Gea distribution has been poor. We know that Harry is not the only issue in that, hasn't been the only issue in that backline. So does the article have a point?
Harry Maguire is my one. I don't even want to say my Achilles heel, but let me start by saying the article left me in two minds about it. And the conspiracy theorist in me was leaning to the angle where I feel Harry tried a little bit of reverse psychology there and had a hand in that and put that out.
That's how I felt too.
To get a little ratings or two going into the internationals, where playing for England, he has enjoyed better playing time, more success than playing for United. And I'm not talking about, as we were discussing earlier, I'm not talking about Harry playing for United crap for the last 2 games, 3 games, even 2 months. Since they lost the Euros and Harry came back to Manchester United, Harry Maguire has not been what we paid for. Let's just put it that way, right? He has been very poor. He has been, and I personally was hoping that um, we could have gotten a new captain. Somebody else could have gotten a new captain because his in terms of playing, he was poor. In terms of leadership, I did not see it. He did not have that kind of commanding presence, and I think too because his dip in form led to a blow in confidence. Naturally, one would come with the other, right? Um, he is not not he. I said he, but let me correct myself. The article is not too wrong in saying some of the other players are to blame. We know this. We follow our games. We follow our teams. But that being said, if you want to say Harry Maguire can be considered a senior member of the team, he is your captain. He is captain of the Three Lions. We expect better. You've not had one game or you've not had two games where you were poor. You would have gone back to the drawing board and looked back and said, hey, you made a mistake here, you made a mistake there. Let me work on that. But we didn't see that. We didn't see an improvement. And even if we had a little improvement in one game, by the next game, I'm honestly the kind of mistakes, the kind of schoolboy mistakes he was making. Sorry, my voice. At this level of football, that is unacceptable totally. So I was actually hoping that the gaffer um, removed the captaincy from him, right? Not just as a punishment, but for him to say, all right, so that is off my shoulders. That's a weight off my shoulders. Maybe I can focus now on me being what they pay, what I'm being paid to do. Me upping my game so I can lift my team. But that hasn't happened, right? And it has been very disappointing. That's why when I saw this Captain Maguire throw his teammates under the bus, I was like, damn, that is reverse psychology because I ain't believing. No. And it's interesting. I want to see how he performs against it's Italy and England, right?
Germany.
Germany,
Both
Germany.
Sorry,
yeah, England
Italy
is
and
playing
Germany,
Germany and Italy.
right? I want to
Two
see how
big,
he
big, big teams.
performs. I want to see what Southgate's got. That is another one is want to just try and put a pin in it and stick him. But I want to see what the lineup would for those games would be and how he actually fits in, how he carries out his role because his role, how he executes his role for England is not how he has been executing his role for Manchester United over 12 months, a year, that kind of thing, 12, 11,
Let me,
12 months.
let me just ask a follow-up question to you, and then I'm gonna bring in everybody else. Aaron in the comments, Aaron double behave yourself. That is all I have to say. Aaron, behave yourself.
So he's one of my buddies up here. He's actually
Oh,
originally from London, and he's actually an Arsenal fan. So you can send your commiserations to him now.
I I I
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say anything else because I know he's not a United fan. That's why I was just gonna say behave yourself and leave it at that. Dixia said that you hope that Harry Maguire would have been removed as the captain. I'm
Yeah.
just asking you, who would you have liked to see be the captain heading into this season?
Well, actually, from the kind of performances we've had, nobody else comes to mind. And I don't like having the goalkeeper as the captain because I think the captain should be in and out there with the guys in the middle of the team. Um, I don't know if maybe Ronaldo could have been given a choice. I personally would not have given him that choice for captain.
And
But
that is exactly why I think Ten Hag ended up staying with Harry. Not
could
necessarily because
possibly
he thought
have
Harry
been.
was good, but simply
He had
because
no other choice,
who else?
right?
Devin, talk to
So,
me. What do you
so
think about this whole Harry thing?
well, first off, I actually agree that that armband needs to be removed from him. I think there's just too much pressure on him. He's thinking way too much about that instead of just focusing on his performances. With that being said, that armband, I think it's been on Bruno the last couple of matches, and we have been unbeaten in the league since that happened. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just hope to God that he maintains his composure in the next match as well too, because it's gonna be a big occasion. We all know what's coming. It sucks because like I think Eriksson could be potential captain material in terms of leading by example. I just don't know if he's vocal enough, and at the same time, I just don't know if he's been at the club long enough for to earn it, because it's kind of, if you do that, it could be risking doing Maguire 2.0, where he's been there too short to get the armband. And my choice had always been David De Gea to get it for longevity. He knows what it's like to win titles and whatnot. But it's also, you need somebody that can be up and around the field to communicate instead of trying to yell from back in the 18-yard box. So, yeah, for now, just with what we got, especially with Maguire not playing, Bruno, it is.
Indeed. Peoples, forgive my rudeness. You know, Zaire has been added to the program, and we didn't welcome him. Good evening to you, my brother.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we're
Yes,
hearing
good
you.
afternoon.
Yeah, loud and clear.
So before we
Hi,
drop
Dixie.
How are you? Sorry about that, Chad.
before we drop the question into Zaire, that T-shirt in the back of Devin right there, that signed Ronaldo T-shirt, we intend to give away once we hit 10,000 subscribers. Now, we are a little distance away from that, but we think with your help, we can make that happen. And once that happens, we're going to be giving away that T-shirt at the end of the season. So help the United Hour, help yourself, possibly get a chance to win that T-shirt. Press subscribe, share the content, get people involved. Say, have this channel talking about United, or they ought to check it out, and make sure and subscribe to the United Hour. And for everybody tuning in, like the video. You know what I mean? You know, we just do it like the video. Good afternoon to the man himself, Carlton Augustine. So, Zaire, what we're talking about is the whole situation with Maguire and the article. We know Mark Ogden has come out and said that he was the one that wrote the article, right? He was the close source. But so you could take any aspect of the situation, whether you want to deal with the content of the article, whether you want to deal with Mark Ogden's deception, you know, whether, you know, whatever you want to deal with, whether you just want to talk about Harry and offload, because I think most United supporters just want to take 2 minutes to offload about Harry Maguire. So anything you want to do, go ahead. Good afternoon to Dane Parkinson. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Chad. Thanks again for having me. First off, with all due respect to Dixie, I can now categorically state that my laptop is female, because Lord, this thing give me stress this afternoon to get on.
Then it has to be,
So I
it's
can
a Maguire laptop. It's a Maguire laptop.
I think it's
like that comeback,
It's not a female laptop. No.
My laptop.
You got a
My
Maguire
laptop is.
right. So what you need to
My
do
laptop is officially Harriet
upgrade.
Maguire.
Right. So you need to upgrade to a Martinez laptop, right?
Correct is right.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to buy a Portuguese one. In terms of the article, listen, there are two things that jump out for me. One, it seems like reporters, regardless of which news outlet they are attached to, have no problem whatsoever painting this club in a bad light by running stories like this. Absolutely no qualms, no problems. They don't think twice about it. And like we always like to say, we will be one of the most hated and always hated clubs in world football. Because I firmly believe a lot of these people just love to stir the pot. Secondly, if I was the person making decisions right now, certain reporters getting banned from my press conferences, forthwith, them the outlet that they represent and anybody else who comes from that outlet will no longer. And I know Alex Ferguson threatened people on multiple occasions
He
to
didn't
ban
just
them from
threaten, he
press
did it.
conferences.
Oh no,
And he
no,
did it.
he was banned. He was banned before.
He was
Right.
banned before, and there was a period in time where the BBC, the biggest outlets in the UK, was banned for a period of time. Couldn't come to, he wasn't answering questions from them. They couldn't come to the press conference. So Sir Alex did it.
I think Eric Ten Hag is going to tolerate this for only so much longer. I believe the right thing to do would, of course, be to sit with Harry, sit with Bruno as the de facto club captain and current captain on the field of play. Explain to these gentlemen, hey, look, this is what is going on. And if I was the manager, I really don't care who did it, who leaked it, who said it, because that's not my business. If the source is saying it's a source close to Harry, then Harry has to handle that. Be man enough, go and do some early Christmas shopping and buy some jingle balls, tie them on where they need to be, and be man enough, man up, find out what's going on. If you had nothing to do with it, issue a statement forthwith, distancing yourself from the comments, the article, and any insinuations made. That is what a captain of a club should do. If, in fact, innocent of all blame, come out with a statement, absolve yourself. If he can't do that, then he has blame to carry. That is how I look at it. In terms of the question of who should be captain, easy, very, very easy for me. A, B, H. Anybody but Harry. I really don't care if it's Fred the Red. Anybody but Harry.
Race!
It can't be him. Because even if you are completely innocent and that you never said anything that you are being purported as saying, the fact is a reporter who in certain circles has credibility is saying that a source close to you said this. Therefore, you are now a liability to this club. As long as you wear the armband, forget the field of play. We knew you were an $80 million worth liability for years now. But you are a liability as the captain. I wouldn't follow that man to the concession stand, much less to follow him onto the field of play.
Ah! Oh my goodness. Carlton is comedy hour. We talking about Phil Jones. Oh my god,
Who's
the
that?
dog in the back here and all trying to weigh in on the conversation.
Well, when the dog hear Phil Jones, the dog want to know what is that and start barking. Because as far as the dog concerned, that's a bandit stealing a wage.
You know, I mean there's very little to add to what you said. I think all of us, as much as we laughing and stuff, we agree with what you're saying. As we talking about anybody else, in the comments, a lot of people were saying Bruno. Some was saying Bruno is too petulant. We didn't have any topics to talk about Bruno. Bruno did an extensive interview with The Athletic this week. It is on YouTube, at The Athletic YouTube site, so you can check it out. Anybody interested in that. But one of the things that Bruno was asked is about him always crying to the referees. And Bruno said that, other big players do it and nobody will complain, right? He talked about Bernardo Silva, that he, crying to the referees and other people he would
He
have
spoke
played
about
with,
Saha. He spoke about Nicolas Pepe. Like, yeah.
right? And he was saying, everybody does cry to the referees. He say, once I on the pitch, I want to win. And whatever I think I need to do to win, I will do it. Now, that is one of the things we all love about Bruno, right? That desire to win, that whatever. And I don't mind if you're playing a game, because let's be real, we know Bruno is a man who will get a little touch and roll along on the ground and cry. And once he ain't get the call, he just jump up and he run back out and start a play. When he really get hit, it is no.
The
Right?
Portuguese Neymar.
Right? He ain't as bad as Neymar. Don't do Bruno that. He not that bad. Neymar on a special level. But for lack of anybody else, and considering that the club has shown confidence in Bruno in sense of giving him a new contract, right? We still have people like Rashford who hasn't been given a new contract as yet. David De Gea hasn't been given a new contract as yet. In light of that fact, I think he would really be the only other person right now that could get the armband. Before we move on, anybody else want to comment on that?
I would actually like to see. I like the thought of having Casemiro as captain, but then again, he has now come and he has yet to settle in. He has yet to get playing time and under his belt. He has yet to make an impact, right? But somehow I have in my head, looking back at maybe his past where he was before, that he has that presence, that kind of commanding presence, that take charge, that's something that the current Manchester United team is lacking. There was one of the matches, and I can't remember which one, the one where Casemiro was introduced to Manchester United when he had just landed. And when I saw him and Roy Keane embrace, I was like, damn, I was like, yes. I mean, I've always said if we could get another, maybe not the exact personality as Roy Keane, but that persona, that commanding presence on field, especially with this group of players, I personally would like to see that. But I think going forward in the future, if Casemiro really settles in, I don't mind him being given a shot at it.
Big up to Alex and Nigel in the comments. So if I was to say to you that Scott McTominay, to me, is the closest thing to Roy Keane that we have, and we know Scott will bleed for Manchester United if he continues to keep Casemiro out of the team, would you consider Scott for captain?
I actually like Scotta, but where does mad blood this come from sometimes, boy? This boy.
From Roy Keane.
Yeah, but I mean, Scotty's a little bit too inconsistent, right? But he has
True,
the passion.
true.
He has the heart. He does have the grit, right?
True.
If he were to up his game, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. Because I actually like Scotty, given sometimes he's doing his piece of madness, right? But another one that I like, and for captain, I like the cool, calm composure of Eriksen. I like how he goes about doing his dues. No flair like Pogba, no, nothing like that. But he gets the job done. And I think that kind of subtle influence could also work for a captain.
So this is a name I was thinking about as well too. Varane. A proven winner. He's got four Champions Leagues and a World Cup. I mean, if somebody's a winner, it's got to be him. So I would definitely have to think that it could be him. Anybody here disagree with that one?
I don't necessarily disagree, but what I think the best case scenario for me going forward is, if you think of the club like an organization, a company, you have different styles of leadership and you have people excelling in different leadership roles, right? Christian Eriksen is everything Dixian just described him as, but he does not come across as the guy who's going to be vocal on the pitch like a Nemanja Vidic was or Roy Keane was. You still hearing me? Did we lose?
Yeah. So I know there's some bad weather right now going on in Trinidad. So unfortunately, it's supposed to be coming up my way next week. But it's when it comes to I like Eriksen. If you're going to pick one of them besides Bruno, it would have to be him. It's what I was saying before. My biggest concern is the fact that they only just got to United. Mm-hmm. And I said it earlier as well. I don't want another repeat of Maguire, where you have somebody that is just coming in and they're instantly getting the armband.
You see, what I'm seeing, what I would hope for is players stepping into different aspects of the leadership role. Now, there are some clubs that have an overall club captain who may not necessarily play week in, week out. But behind the scenes, he does everything the captain is supposed to do for the club. Jordan Henderson doesn't command a starting place on Liverpool's team week in, week out, once everybody on that team is fit, but he's still the club captain. Towards the end of his career, I believe Valencia was club captain at one point. Ashley Young was club captain, but they weren't playing. So it is entirely conceivable that we can have somebody who is a club captain, for example, a Christian Eriksen, when we have to manage his workload, because I firmly expect that when he comes back from that World Cup, we are going to have to seriously manage his workload. I think right now he's playing every game because he really wants to make sure he's in the best condition he can be in come the 20th of November. But when he gets back, we are going to have to take a decision. How often do we let this guy play? Because after the World Cup, we're going to possibly be doing 3 games a week, every week, until the end of the season, depending on how far we go in cup competitions. So if you have him as your club captain, and on the field, you have your day-to-day captain, whether it's a Bruno or a Rafael Varane. And I don't expect these things may happen immediately. Ten Hag might actually wait till the end of the season, rally with Harry holding the honorary title of captain, because you don't want to kick the hornet's nest by taking it off of him unless another article like this ridiculous one comes out. And you may have Bruno on the field and you rally until the end of the season, and then you make decisions because you give Casemiro a full off season and training camp with the squad. You give Lisandro Martinez, who is a player I think could definitely be a leader on this team, and I'm sure that he's already a leader on this team. You give Rafael Varane the option to form that partnership he had with Casemiro at Madrid, establish that bond of leadership in how they work together to take the team forward. So we're going to have a lot of options at the end of the season. If we have to put up with a couple more months of Harry and Harriet, the spy, whoever it is, leaking information, well, boy, pretty good at the club, so be it.
Yeah, I can't really have any disagreements with that. I was sitting here thinking as well now when it comes to McTominay potentially as a captain as well. You just have that enforcer who is going to demand everybody always step up their game. It's even if you're not having a good game, at least push them into doing other things, help out the team other ways. Because we all know he's not afraid to get a yellow card. I believe if he gets one more yellow card in any of his next 6 matches, he's banned for a game. So I'm already assuming he's going to be banned for the match after City. So, yeah, that's a sure bet. I know that for certain.
It's a pity we don't have a game before that match.
No. Even so, even if that were the case, we had a match before. I would not be playing McTominay in that match for that very reason.
I think with Scott, you can look at, and I know he's captained the team before in League Cup games. I remember him scoring a winner in a game when he was captain, right? So I think you can have designated roles because obviously, just like with penalty takers, there's a hierarchy. And if you have a captain who goes out onto the field, if he gets subbed off, he knows who he's passing the armband on to. There's a hierarchy in the team. So you can include Scott in that, and you can have him as, if in the League Cup, you're resting Eriksen, you're resting Bruno, then that's the guy you go to, and you let him lead the troops out. And then if for some reason you're taking him off, if you're not bringing a Bruno or an Eriksen on, then you ask him to pass the handband to a Varane or a Casemiro or whoever is the next senior player on the team. So you give everybody the opportunity to contribute to your leadership structure. But boy, it has to change. And I think at the end of this season, Ten Hag will have enough ammunition in his arsenal to make changes that we wanted him to make. But logically, we knew he couldn't make as soon as he came in.
Yeah, so I think we've definitely pushed on this topic quite a bit, maybe even going on a little bit too much. You never know. But now going on to the next topic for today, Cristiano Ronaldo. The topic was brought up to about potentially retirement or something like that after this upcoming World Cup. And Ronaldo being Ronaldo as he is, He's saying absolutely not. He wants to play in the upcoming Euros coming up too, which I believe are in Germany, I think. Um, so by that time, he would be going. I think he'd be 40 by that time already too. So you never know. I personally think he's trying to hold out as long as he can to get the opportunity to play with his son. I also don't see him staying at United for that time, unfortunately. I think this is his last season. It's just he's on way too big wages right now to be the role that he's having right now. And then unfortunately, it's only going to get worse with father time catching up to him.
You see, this is something I've been wondering about, Devin. All of the reports that we heard indicated that he was desperate to leave during the summer. Every single media outlet, Fabrizio Romano, Gerard Romero, everybody was reporting that he instructed Jorge Mendes to do whatever he needed to do to find a deal with him. And pretty much it was like Jorge Mendes with Ronaldo's picture in a shopping cart flying all over Europe. My personal take on it is this: if you were so desperate to leave and you realize that the one major sticking point to everybody was your salary, why not reduce your salary demands? Now, somebody's making the point there that he had that 211 million offer from Saudi Arabia. Now, if he was just about the money, he would have gone to Saudi Arabia because there isn't anything for you to do there. But then what is he going to win in Saudi Arabia that's ever going to get him any recognition? He's probably going to get the title for most expensive transfer ever in Saudi Arabian history if he goes. But that will do nothing for him. In terms of wanting to play in Euros 2024, I think the man acknowledges that this is going to be his last World Cup. There's no way we're going to see him in 2026 unless he's assistant manager of the Portuguese national team at that point in time, which I don't put it past him because there's one call to the president of the federation and they'll make the appointment, right? Especially if, as I hope, he leads them to the World Cup final in November this year. So he knows this is it for that trophy. He has a Euros, but he has only 2 trophies with the national team. He's not going to go out unless he has a decent opportunity to get another one after this World Cup. And even if he has to drag himself onto the pitch at age 40, he's going to go. He will become the Roger Milla of Portugal. Welcome back, Mr. President.
Yes, Chad.
Yes. I assume that Dixian is having the same challenge that I was. We just had a severe electricity dip, and apparently it took my my internet connection a while to reconnect. So we've been, due to the bad weather on the island, we've been having a lot of electricity outages. We have a couple guests that were supposed to be here that electricity went by them and it hasn't come back as yet. So fortunately, I am back. Nigel in the comments is saying, yeah, current went and has now come back by him as well. Did you all, in my absence, did you all address this question from Carlton?
Yes. So Zahir was saying, especially now that he's gonna have to be watched after the World Cup when there's potential.
No. I don't need a recap. It's just a question I wanted to address. So once you all address it,
yeah.
So
right.
did you comment on the Ronaldo thing, Devin?
So yeah, I did.
Right. Well, let me just give my 2 cents. I hope that Ronaldo performs excellently during the World Cup so that people will be reignited in their interest for Ronaldo. So hopefully we could get some money for him in January. He could exit the team. We could buy a proper striker, right? Younger and, somebody who is more inclined in Ten Hag's system. If Ronaldo doesn't have a really good World Cup and the rest of the world feels about him the way we as United supporters are feeling about him presently, that he's starting to lose a step, that he may not necessarily be the Ronaldo of old. If that happens, I don't see him lasting to 2024. All right, as great as he is, and as much as the Portuguese love him, and they should love him and appreciate him, when you have the likes of Jota and so much other good talent coming up in Portugal, if you're not delivering the goods, what we keeping you on the international stage for? You know what I mean? Unless you're prepared to do what is happening at United right now, where we pull you off the bench. You know, you can't be a regular starter in a Portuguese team.
Can you envision a situation that's parallel to what West Indies did with Chris Gayle at the last World Cup, where they took him along with the squad? He wasn't a playing member of the squad, but they took him along as part of the mentorship group and the experienced heads.
Without saying, of course, Ronaldo could bring something, but the question is, what does Ronaldo want to do? You know, he has to be willing to play that ambassadorial role,
Agreed.
or that motivational role, or that part of the coaching staff role. You know, what does he want to do with his career? Clearly, when he made the statement to ESPN, he was speaking from the perspective of a player. I want to be playing in this team in 2024.
Well, let me ask the two of you this. If you were the Portuguese manager in 2024, you take him to the Euros, right? Your game has gone through extra time, it's deadlocked. You have 10 minutes of extra time left and a penalty shootout guaranteed to follow. You throwing him on the field?
Yes.
I train Ronaldo on the field as soon as we're heading into extra time.
you
Before
go.
10 minutes.
So if he is willing to accept that role, then he has to go and he has to play.
Once he prepare. You see, note I said, my statements are around how he performs in the World Cup. Because I think, regardless of what he does for United, if he goes to the World Cup and he balls, people will say, yes, he still have it in him. He still have something to contribute, especially on the international level, right? Because in international football, you tend to have a little more space, just like Champions League football, right? Versus club football in the UK, right? You tend to be able to get away with a little more in international football. If he underperforms in the World Cup, and I don't mean how much goals he scores, I mean how he looks, right? It's not about if you score or not, it's how you look. The reality is the last game Ronaldo played for us, he looked old. It's the first time I ever see Ronaldo look old in my watching him in my entire life. Right? He looked old. If he goes to the World Cup and he look old, I don't care who the coach is. He can't make it 2024 team. But if he goes and he looks good, then yeah.
I can't see him not looking good because, I mean, if we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that the service he'll get from the wings with Portugal will be 100% better than what he's getting at United right now.
Well, true, but we'll see how that goes. We have, let's let the people know, during the World Cup break, we will not be shut down, not just because it's Manchester United and we will always have Manchester United news, but as you all know, on a Sunday, we have the EPL Rewind, where we review all the games that will have EPL.
So
Rewind, where we're going to be talking about everything going on in the World Cup games, and all the World Cup news. So we're going to have United news, and we're going to be covering the World Cup right here on the United Hour. Yeah, Devin?
sorry, yeah, I thought you were lost connection there again. But I was just gonna say the same thing that you said about EPL Rewind. So
Yeah. So we
No,
definitely going to be.
I know I came in late today, so I didn't get to say my 2 cents on signing of the season so far, most impactful signing of the season. So let me just choke my last piece of fire before I go. Lisandro Martinez, because he keeps Harry on the bench.
That's a 2 for 1. 2 for 1.
2 for 1.
2 for 1, we get there. So, guys, let's get on the record, the little segment where we put you all and myself on the spot with a question, looking into the future, you know, and then at that time, we're going to hopefully pull this video back up and see which one of us would have been right. So the question today is, come June 2023, who will be United's player of the season? Which of you all want to go first?
I will go first on this one. So right now, everything in me is saying Jadon Sancho. I know, I know Martinez right now is definitely the fan favorite right now. He's
Yeah,
bringing such a
Martinez is the flavor of the month, but we're
side right
talking end
now.
of the season.
I just think that I have this feeling that Sancho is going to start coming into form, especially right around the World Cup, and then after he's going to be flying come the second half of the season. So I have to go on the record and throw out there. I think it's going to be Jadon Sancho.
Hi,
Welcome
Dixie.
back.
Glad to have you back.
I'm sorry. Electricity dipped and everything went.
Same thing with me. I just got back before you.
My answer to the question, I agree with Courtney in the chat. Ericsson. I think coming down to the end of the season, especially if we are in games that we need to pull out to lock down a top 4 place, Christian Eriksen is going to be critical to that. We are going to need people who can rally the team, control what's going on the field, to be the leaders on the field, and that is going to be his role. I think at the end of the season, it will be Christian Eriksen.
All right. So the question is, who is going to be United's player of the season? We have Devin going with Sancho. We have Zahir saying Ericsson in the comments. We have Ericsson, Anthony, Martinez, and Rashford. What say you, Dixie?
I'm sticking with my initial thing, going with Lisandro Martinez. Giving him close competition, obviously, would be Ericsson. But
Martinez.
yeah.
I am going to go with a couple of the guys in the comments and say Rashford. And I will tell you why. Do I think Rashford is presently in player of the season form? No. Rashford form is coming back. But to me, Rashford is not there yet. He's on the way, but he's not there yet. But if Rashford does come back, let's be real. All of us as United supporters, yeah, Martinez playing out his heart. Yeah, Ericsson doing human service. But if Rashford really comes back and have a 20-plus goal season, or even a 15-plus goals and 10 assist season, I think all of us would be so happy for Marcus Rashford. I think we would be just over the moon. If he and Sancho have the same numbers at the end of the season, all of us will pick Rashford as the player of the season. If both of them have 20 and 10, all of us going Rashford because he is man's true and true. So once he has a good season, I think Rashford could be the player of the season come end of the season. Was that
I hear you, but I can't see that happening with him playing as a number 9. He has to be playing on the left. I don't see that happening if he has to continue playing up front. So his winning that and his comeback is contingent on Anthony Martial getting fit and staying fit and playing up front.
I actually agree with you from the standpoint that front three of Martial, Sancho, and Rashford, I think, is our best combination.
So where do you put Anthony then? Where do you put Anthony then?
Rotating out.
That's interesting. That is interesting because is somebody they're gonna have to have a fight for that right side.
The thing is, Sancho can play both sides. He is more comfortable doing it than Marcus. Marcus hates the right side, so it's wasted putting him there. We have not yet tried Anthony on the left, so we don't know if they ever will find reason to. But knowing that Sancho can play both sides, then you have cover. So you can even start a game with Sancho, Martial, and Anthony, and then you have Rashford coming in to spell one of them. So there are immense options with that four.
Yeah, we have so many games to play, right? In October alone, we have something like what, 9, 10
games? 9 games in 4 weeks.
4 weeks, right? Every week between now and the World Cup break is 2 games a week. And trust me, we already have 2 games to reschedule. So they're going to have weeks after the World Cup where we're playing 3 games a week.
Queen
understand?
Elizabeth clearly wasn't a Manchester
Yeah,
fan.
looking at the schedule right now in October, boy. Wow.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
woman's
Wow.
death, her death and
I
funeral
I
postponed
agree.
2 games that screw up our schedule.
I agree with Courtney. That is definitely a problem that we would like to have.
Yep.
Having that kind of quality is definitely a problem we want to have.
Because we
So,
haven't had it for a while, and it's a good thing.
yeah, the team used to be picking itself. I
Mhm.
like the fact that Scott is keeping Casemiro out of the team. Even when Casemiro gets back onto the team, I want to know that we have players like a Scott McTominay that could come on, and we know he can handle his stories. I would rather that than it's that Casemiro just walk on because Scott not performing well. You understand? So let us have those problems.
Those are the kinds of problems we we like to have as teams, as a team, as supporters. We actively encourage having those problems. Yeah.
Indeed. All
We
right,
didn't
guys.
have
So
that last season.
let's go on to some people's favorite segment, which is the top shutter and boo boo. What is that? Top shutter is that person, club, country that is just having the Midas touch. Everything they do is coming off well. Everything they do turns to goal. The boo boo of the week is going to be that person, club, whatever, sports related, that is just having a horrible day, horrible week. They walk outside, bird poop on their head, nobody is taking them on. They're just horrible. So that is what the top shutter and boo boo is. Talk to me, guys. Who wants to go first with the top shutter this week? Should we give it to the lady? Like Dixie, you want to go first?
I want to say let Dixie go first.
I actually had not thought about the top shutter. Had thoughts about the boo boo man, and the boo boo man had nothing to do with football. I was going
That's
to
all right.
going to give the boo boo man to TKR.
Oh God, Dixie over there. Dixie almost forget.
All we have to say to you where that is concerned is this.
So you will have to explain what TKR is to anybody who does not watch cricket here.
Trinbago Knight Riders. Did you not see the last match?
It's $100,000 I spent for 4 tickets in Trinidad,
My condolences. Honestly, my condolences.
Oh my gosh.
But on a side note, it's good. It's good because the team needs scrapping.
It does. I saw my 86-year-old father this week. I think, when was the last match? Was it the Wednesday or the Monday? One of those days we played. He was a former cricketer, right? He played club cricket. And this man standing there, and the only thing he didn't do was grab up your pad, step up and run out in the team, quarrel from the time. How he dropped that catch. I was like, Daddy, calm down. This is the kind of behavior we display. And my mommy standing up there. I was like, God, it's not football here. What you carrying on? I was like, yeah, take care for this Bobo man thing.
For sure.
I have 2 good names for you, Chad.
Uh-huh.
The Boo Boo Man has to be Chelsea Football Club. Because nothing is going right with that team right now. Absolutely nothing.
Chelsea Football
We're not
Club
complaining.
or the London Cowboys? Which one?
Well, boy, you gotta call them the London something, right? But the Bowley Boys. And my top shutter has to be Barcelona's Obi Ahmad. Whoever that is. How you could be bullying people to take pay cut, refusing to pay owed wages, finagling and selling everything which way and the other down to the kitchen sink, and then recording a profit in your financials that you publish?
Is not the Obi man, is the accountant.
Well, if that is the Obi man, whoever the accountant is, that is the top shutter, brother. Use that top shutter.
We need to find out who the accountant is, because that kind of maths, unbelievable.
That man need to come and work for the Ministry of Education so they can find money to raise teacher salary.
Carlton is agreeing with you. He's saying the majority owner of Chelsea is the boo-boo man. You know, guys, I have been avoiding touching Mr. Bowley's statements on these shows. But this weekend, on Sunday, when we have the EPL Rewind, we are going to talk about the many statements made by the majority owner of Chelsea, simply because it is not about Chelsea, but he's talking about changes that should be made to the league, talking about Americanizing the EPL. And I know a lot of us might just rubbish that thought, like, well, he's just a clown. But you have to remember, Arsenal, majority owned by American owners. Liverpool, majority owned by American owners. Manchester United, majority owned by American owners. I think Aston Villa, majority owned by American owners. And there are at least two other clubs that have owners from America. And changes in the Premier League are voted on by clubs. And we've just called a lot of very powerful clubs in the Premier League. So we might rubbish the thought. But when you have the teams talking about things to change in the Premier League, we have to consider that it wouldn't be that far-fetched that some of these crazy ideas that we may see a Premier League Americanized with time. So we're definitely going to be discussing that. But we ain't discussing that today. It's Manchester United business today. But we'll talk about those things on the weekend. Your top shutter and Boo Man Devin.
So we'll start with my top shutter right here, baby. right here. Guaranteed to finish first place in CPL T20 right now.
No.
Slow your roll a little bit now.
Slow.
Guaranteed to finish
they can't get
in first place for playoffs. All right.
So
yes.
winning the group stage just give you a trophy.
Well, it's the one whose week is going well, right?
All right.
True.
Right?
Fair enough.
This boo-boo man, this one has been it's funny enough talking about American owners, because we all know who owns the Barbados Royals, right? Mark Wahlberg.
Another American owner.
Exactly. This
Big up to DJ and Funo on the inside.
This boo-boo man, I think I have to give it to Mark Ogden for this week. Because you basically try to put up something, and now it's just backfiring all in your face right now. And you're probably going to get banned from Old Trafford now because of this too. So I think I would have to give it to him.
Mark Ogden is lucky, and I think Zahir spoke about it, that Ten Hag is still new in the job. He just may avoid that ban. But trust me, he on a short leash. And who's your top shutter?
You ain't seen me before?
Oh, sorry, yes. Barbados is your top shutter. Carlton is saying, remember the Super League folded under fan pressure. The fans won't stand for Americanization of the EPL. He and DJ Inferno are saying the same things.
Yeah, but the thing is, whether the fans standing for the Americanization of the EPL, it is in progress. It is already in progress.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to be talking.
Money talks.
Because I think we can't just rubbish it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the things he says may seem ridiculous, but the Super League was ridiculous until they did it, right?
But then look at the response that it got. So you have to take that into consideration as well too.
Yeah, but let's be real. The world we live in, there are things that are considered normal today that just 20 years ago was totally crazy, right?
Well, I don't want to go into the comments yet because we got to save that for Sunday. But yeah, these crazy ideas they're talking about. Like, have you seen the latest thing? Like what they're trying to do with the Super Cup now?
Yes, and we already crossed an hour. And the only reason I didn't bring up the Super Cup is because we'd end up going to like about 7:30 talking about that. So I had to X out that, but there's so much going on. Dixie, I have a comment inside here. Right? And DJ
Yeah,
Bruno
but
is
that comment, money talks. I was specifically referring to the Americanization of the EPL clubs, and the thing is, this has been happening for years, and I think it's only recently people are really picking up on it to label it the Americanization of EPL clubs. How long has Iglesia been in? How long has Arsenal's owner been in? Not just if they're not the majority shareholders, but they have been buying in over the years, and the influence has been seeping in. And it is what it is.
yeah, and I haven't said anything. Again, because we're going to go into that depth. But we have to remember the Super League was Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, and City. Right? Chelsea at the time had a Russian owner, City, um, Emirates. And we have to remember that we talk about 7 to 8 clubs being owned, majority owned by Americans. But then there are a number of other clubs, Newcastle now, that are not owned by Europeans or English people. And it'll be a lot easier to convince them to change things that they don't have that inherent history, right? Which is why it was easy to convince Chelsea and Man City to join the Super League, because they don't have that sense of his history that a normal English person or English owner would have. So we can't rubbish the things that we're hearing. We can't just say, well, yeah, that'll never happen. So as I said, it's worth discussing, and we're definitely going to have that discussion.
When
My top
you
shutter, go ahead.
okay, when you're all having that discussion, I just want to put a thought in people's minds here.
Sunday at 6. Mhm.
It's just for you all to think about. In the English Premier League, accept the fact that it's obviously in England. How English is the English Premier League? How English? Take out the location. Look at the players involved. Look at where the money is coming from. Look at your
And the
funding, your
top managers,
advertising,
the top
right?
players.
Exactly. Look at your coaches. How English is the English Premier League? And then relate that to the Americanization of the EPL club. I would want to say not just the Americanization, but the internationalization of the EPL clubs.
Yeah. So definitely a lot for us to think about and talk about in that program on Sunday. My top shutter for this week, I know Premier League ended on the weekend, but my top shutter has to be Haaland. He right now is just a machine, and I think the fact that he's not going to the World Cup is scary, because he's going to be so rested. Haaland has just been everything advertised and more since he touched down in the Premier League. So until City plays us and Martinez shut him down, that's my top shutter.
I do have to give one honorable mention for top shutter though.
Go ahead.
I have to give an honorable mention to Son.
Yeah, boy.
True.
I mean, it's
that is a statement,
I mean,
if ever there was any.
If there is ever like the Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally, that's exactly what Son did when he got dropped for that game and came on and said, "You want to drop me? Watch this." That is the exact response that you want from a player. Even though it's not a United player, I have to give credit to that. That's something that if I were coaching, I'd be showing all my kids, this is how you respond to being dropped right here. Go out there and do this.
Let's
That's
just hope
definitely
he
Jordan-esque.
continues it into the North London derby soon.
Yeah. I the unique sad thing is I can't get Son in my fantasy team right now. I share this sentiment. I share the sentiment. I don't have my wild card. I can't get him in my fantasy team. People looking for fantasy content, remember we have the Fantasy Blitz. So we're going to have a show tomorrow. Please go and check that out. And my boo-boo of the week, I'm trying my best not to give it to TKR because I haven't been following the Caribbean Premier League. Sorry,
Lucky
the Caribbean.
lucky for you.
I haven't been following it. And then when I started to follow it, the 2 games I watched TKR play, they lost. So it
So
really
is you. Culprit found.
don't try that. They lose more than 2 games. It's not
Race!
it's not me. They lose more than 2 games. It's not me.
Devin, I had a Scooby-Doo moment there, boy, when they unmasked the criminal.
Zahir, Shad, this one is from you. This one is to you from Zahir. Stop, abandon everything, get away from it. You ain't watching it.
Well, the way they're making me feel, I don't feel I want to watch no more games again. I will just follow it online now. I don't know.
But
No.
I tell you what, whenever you're playing the Royals, yes, feel free to watch.
Redeem yourself by watching Barbados games.
Yeah, okay.
I will do that. I will definitely do that.
Let me see who Juju stronger.
So since I don't want to go the likes of TKR, I would have to say the boo boo man again. I will go stick with the Premier League is West Ham. West Ham and Leicester are shockingly bad. Shockingly. If I was betting money, I would have lose money. But the Premier League is not over yet. We know it's early days. But if anybody told me that the teams that would have been holding up the Premier League was going to be Leicester and West Ham, I'd be like, well, you're crazy or what? These teams has been fighting for top 6 you're talking about. But those 2 teams right now, I don't know what to say.
I had to come a little closer to the screen to whisper. Remember which team was at the bottom a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, but last season we all remember Arsenal started that way, but that was after 3 games. Then they started to go up. We 9 games in, or no? It's not 3 games, we 9 games in. Leicester hasn't kept a clean sheet whole season. West Ham, like, they forget how to score goals. Do I think these clubs will get relegated? No, I do not. But right now, they are the whole boo-boo man right now. Right now,
who do you think will get fired first? Moyes or Rodgers?
Ooh.
Rodgers.
I think Rodgers have to go.
Between Moyes and Rodgers, I think Rodgers.
Moyes has earned himself a little blight because he took them into Europe last season.
Yeah, but Rodgers win a FA Cup, bro.
Rodgers win the FA Cup or Jamie Vardy win the FA Cup? I don't know.
Wherever, they had to do something. Thank God it's not Manchester United. Carlton is saying West Ham will survive. I think so as well. And Courtney is saying try to figure out why Leicester sold their keeper without having a proper backup. Right?
Correct.
I don't. I'm just to touch on that to share a little knowledge. I have heard that that Leicester's wage bill is equal to their revenue. When we talk about TV revenue, game receipts, gate receipts, and all of these things. So right now, Leicester is not in trouble financially, but they're not in a good place. And that is one of the reasons why they didn't spend in the summer, because that was boggling my mind. So I did a little research on it, and apparently, I don't know if they need another sponsor. I don't know what they need, but they need to do something to generate funds. Because forget about cutting your wage bill. Even if you sell players, if you want to bring top quality talent, you're going to have to pay them. So if Leicester intend to continue to fight with the big boys, that wage bill ain't coming down.
No problem. I'll pay them 40 million to take Harry. I'm
They can
paying
take
them
back
to take
Harry on
him.
discount.
I will pay them to take him. Easy 40 million.
Yes, indeed. So, people, I want to give special thanks to the lady Dixian for being with us. We hope that she is going to be here a lot more.
I honestly hope Tiantec allows me to be here more and Flo when they're ready. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Indeed, indeed. And Zaire, nice to have you back on the program.
Always, bro. Always.
You know, as I always say, Red Devils, we don't die, we multiply. Enjoy the rest of your day, people.
You
Laters,
too.
everyone.
I'm looking for the outro and like I can't find it. You all see me fiddling here trying to find it. I don't know where did it go. Where did it go?
The same place as Harry Talent.
I got it.
All right.